The brightest dawn, the most glorious sunset, to grace mine eyes, the beauty of 1,000 lifetimes all surpassed. In that one moment, when I stumbled unaware on the keeper of my soul.
Max and I were always most fascinated by that earlier set of twins who became king and keeper. They were, by all accounts, the very best of men, and we wanted to be like them. I was curious when I saw Tremaine's account of the slave ship coming aground. I asked my uncle Antonio to clarify one specific point. Why would deity give Estolians more boy children to increase the population? Do not girls make a better choice? His response, typical of the keeper, was enigmatic. There are more women born outside the faith who could embrace all it entails than there are men. Xavier Archimedes, Zakarian, Capitulo 86.
Once the metal gate closed behind them, they continued down the gravel drive for some time. The road was long but well maintained. It led into a steep-sided little valley and ended at a carport next to a small cottage and stable. He pulled into the carport, turned the car off, and then lifted one hand to get her attention.
"If you would allow me to get your door for you,"
he reminded her. He came around the car and opened her door. When he extended a hand to her, she thought him quaint. Perhaps he was as old as she originally thought. Certainly in his 40s at least. Any younger, and she would not expect him to be so interested in courtesies of earlier eras. She allowed him to help her out of the car.
"Welcome to my home,"
he said.
"I hope you like it here."
"Is that your home?"
The first thing that she noticed was the overpowering sound of silence. At her previous home in Palo Alto, the sounds of people, vehicles, and the ever-present hum of machinery, cars, and electronic devices meant that there was never any true substantive quiet. She soaked up the blissful ambience surrounding them, and felt a peace she could not remember ever feeling before. To one side of the small valley, she saw what looked like acres of blackberries. A stable held a couple of horses while two others were frisking in the green paddock. One of the horses in the field sank to its knees and then onto its side with a grunt. She watched the horse roll on its back, legs in the air, clearly enjoying itself. Just beyond the paddock was the small cottage. She thought it could not hold more than 2 bedrooms.
"Is that your home?"
he asked. He shook his head.
"Helix and Alondra live there."
He walked to the back of the carport and inserted a key in a lock next to a set of double doors. After a quick glance at her, he turned the key.
"My home, Jasmine, is entirely subterranean."
The doors slid open, revealing an elevator. He smiled at her reassuringly before bending to pick up her suitcases and carry them into the spacious interior of the elevator. When the doors swept open again, she could not believe the bright and spacious living room was below ground. There seemed to be windows on all sides, with the glow of daylight shining on the curtains covering them.
"This was an experimental home built 6 years ago. I purchased it only partially completed and have been renovating it as time allows. The first change I made was to try to reduce the psychological impact of living in a subterranean home by installing light panels hidden behind curtains. They are on a timer. They even have variable intensity. If it is a stormy day outside, they will shine less brightly."
He carried her suitcases as he led her to one side of the massive living room. She glanced around the large space and saw hallways leading in 5 directions. To their immediate right, a short hallway led to 3 doors. He gestured to the door on their right.
"This will be your room for now. Helix is working to finish the guest suite in the north wing, and that will be yours once he is done."
He pointed to the door on the left.
"This is the study, where we will do most of our work."
He then gestured to the 3rd doorway, a set of double doors at the end of the hallway.
"Those doors lead to my room."
Dominic grimaced at his expression in the mirror. If he was wise, he would send Jasmine packing. For some reason he expected her to be awkward, mannish, overweight, and socially inept. What he did not expect was a woman whose features were striking enough to kindle his imagination. She threatened his goal of celibacy like no other woman he had known before. She was not traditionally beautiful, but she had a fae-like quality that he suddenly wanted for himself. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He would be aloof, he decided, and avoid thinking about her. He could not just send her packing. He heard her telling Alondra about how she had a small storage shed with her family's possessions, but she had very little aside from the suitcases she had brought to his home. If he turned her out of his life and this job, she would be homeless. She was not to blame that he did not want a woman who was virginal as his personal assistant, though she never actually answered his question. Perhaps she was not pure? It was immaterial, pure or impure. He did not plan to take her to bed, regardless of her history. Gregorio told him, shortly after his son was born.
Tom, we were right to not indulge when we could. The blessings that came with being pure until I claimed Wraith and until she claimed my soul are impossible to quantify. But they are real. You must promise me that you will be open to the possibility that there is a woman to keep your soul safe. If deity presents you with an aura, promise to accept the woman.
I will not take any woman against her will, nor will I seduce or abduct any woman. I will not do it.
His voice broke. He felt almost desperate as he said it, because he admired everything about the writers of the Capitolos, aside from their near-universal taking without asking. How could they do it? Why were women okay with it? Gregorio's voice was calm in response.
I am not saying you should go against your deepest convictions. Just promise to listen to deity and promise to stay true to yourself.
That was something he could do.
I promise in the light and sight of deity to listen to the spirit and follow the promptings that come to me, so long as I can remain true to myself.
Magical melding, promises will be kept. Two souls welding, a connection to accept one glorious truth.